Yeah. Okay. So I have taken the projects which are initially I was thinking mentioning you about some projects pertaining to some sort of experiment, but seeing the time constraint and your occupancies, I have decided to like go for on a different aspect. So these are different topics that we have picked up from Unit 7 and 6, and from Unit 4 also, and not Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 5. Okay. And most of these topics are discussion based topic, which needs some inquiry, going into the literature, going into some research work, and then prepare small projects for it. Okay. Now this project, you won't be submitting it in form of some project file, but you will have to present it in the form of a presentation. Okay. And that presentation can either be can be presented by one person in a group, or maybe 2 person, or each slide can be presented by a different person. It's up to you. Okay. So these are different topics. Each group can take around 5 to 6 people. Second is that what I was about to say. Okay, wait. Second is, when you are taking these topics, try that they are not repeated. Okay, I mean saying कि ऐसा ना हो कि एक टॉपिक 3 ग्रुप लिए चला जा रहा है. नो, ठीक है, 2 एक बार को ले सकते हैं, it's fine, but not more than that. Try to choose your different topics. Don't think कि इसमें कम मेहनत लगेगा, इसमें हमें ज्यादा मैटर मिल जाए. Equal matter, you have matter available for every topic. हर टॉपिक के लिए you have the matter available, and in a very good way. The only thing that that is important here is we know how to look into the matter for any topic. Okay, so the purpose of this presentation will be, first, it will give you a platform where you will be able to learn to present your views on or ideas on any topic. Second, it will also help you in preparing presentation. For example, in few of the batches, I realized and I came to know that there were some who have never prepared the presentation. No problem. It's the best time. Why not utilize it? Okay. And a third thing, while preparing these slides, while collecting the matter on this topic, you will also learn how to pick up the keywords, how to search the matter, how to go into the research paper, and how you have to put the matter, how you have to select the matter, so that whatever is being asked and whatever is the topic, that is justified in as best way as possible. Okay. If anyone or any group will have any issue, I will have a separate discussion on that topic with that group. Okay. At the end of the day, all these presentations will be collected and they will be shared in the entire class. So it will serve as a repository or as a library for you all, where you can use it as a matter for your examinations or for your exams. Okay. Now, important thing is, what you have to mention in these slides is you have to look into some history. You have to talk about the current situation, if it is happening, if it is still happening. What are the reasons why they are happening, and what is their effect on when they are happening? Okay. Then the role of government in terms of policy and acts in regulating them. And then comes your role in terms of individual, in terms of awareness, in terms of other, if you have any case studies to support your evidence in terms of finding the way to sort out any problem, or in context to that, in the support of your topic. Okay. You have this entire June month for working in this direction. Okay. So 30th June is the last date. In the first week of July, we will distribute the dates and the groups, and we will have around 3 presentation in each class, 3 to 4 presentation in each class. And I'm sure in 2 classes, all the presentation will be over. Okay. So, and for the presentation, total time will be 10 minutes. 8 minutes time will be for your for presenting your slides. 2 minutes will be your question answers. It can exceed also depending upon if there are more groups who are going to ask. Okay. So the questions can be raised by the groups, or I will be asking the questions, or both of them can ask the questions. Okay. So in this way, we will be doing it. And for every presentation, I'll have the recording so that in future, if somebody asks, okay, which group has presented on what, I will have that repository, I will have that library. Okay. And I'll send that and share that for your reference also, so that in future, if you want to show someone else also that you have presented on such and such topic, you can show them. Okay. Clear, beta? So now the role of CR here is, I request you कि आप लोग जल्द से जल्द CR को नाम दे दो, अपने ग्रुप्स के नाम दे दो, and choose your topic. Okay. So by this week, latest by this week, please send me that list, and you all start working on it. So I think the entire June month is enough for this. ठीक है. बाकी किसी को कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आता है, किसी ग्रुप को प्रॉब्लम आता है कि मैम how should we search the literature in this direction, or how we should go about the presentation, then you can ask. ठीक है. In general, what you have to keep in mind while presenting or while preparing your presentation in slides is, now presentation जो हम पावर पॉइंट के थ्रू देते हैं, उसका पर्पस ये होता है, I already know about that topic. I am simply taking the help of that presentation so that I can show my audience with the help of some graph and with the help of some images. So it becomes easier for the audience to understand whatever I'm saying. Or I can show them a video through the presentations so that they are able to understand the concept which I'm trying to deliver them. Okay. It's not at all a book reading. ठीक है. यूजुअली क्या होता है कि हम सारा मैटर उठा के पावर पॉइंट पे चिपका देते हैं, देन वी स्टार्ट रीडिंग इट लाइन बाय लाइन. दिस शुडंट हैपन. ठीक है. प्रेजेंटेशन का काम वो नहीं है. दैट शुड बी देयर इन यू, एंड इट विल बी देयर इन यू व्हेन यू ऑलरेडी हैव क्लियर कांसेप्ट, व्हेन यू नो अबाउट योर टॉपिक. आपको पढ़ना तब पड़ता है, 2 चीजें हैं, जब आपको उसके बारे में नहीं पता है ज्यादा, या फिर आपको जब घबराहट हो रही होती है कि ओके हम इसको है ना ऐसे करते हैं. ठीक है. तो यहाँ घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है, बिकॉज इट्स ऑल योर प्लेटफॉर्म. आपको जिस भी भाषा में बोलना है, यू हैव टू टॉक इन हिंदी, यू हैव टू टॉक इन इंग्लिश, फील फ्री. यू हैव टू टॉक इन मिक्स्ड लैंग्वेज, नो प्रॉब्लम, नो इश्यूज. ठीक है. आपके सब क्लास के ही लोग हैं, सो नीडंट वरी. यूटिलाइज दिस प्लेटफॉर्म. अपने आप का जितना डर निकाल सकते हो इन स्पीकिंग अबाउट इट. ठीक है. सो आप लोग कैसे कर सकते हो, फॉर एग्जाम्पल ग्रुप में 5-6 मेंबर्स है, मे बी यू कैन डिवाइड दीज सेक्शंस की. ठीक है. तुम ये पार्ट सर्च करो, मैं ये पार्ट सर्च करती हूँ, मैं ये करती हूँ. Then you together organize a meeting where you discuss what all points you have connected, so that each one of you know about each aspect of that topic. अपना टॉपिक जो उस टॉपिक में पार्ट ले रहे हो उसमें आप एक्सपर्ट हो, लेकिन बाकी सब में भी आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन रहे. ठीक है. एंड देन either any one of you can choose to present, or 2 can choose, 3 can choose, or each one can present their own slide or own work of slide. So in that way it will reduce. तो उसमें होगा क्या कि उस टॉपिक के एक एस्पेक्ट को ही पर्सन को ढूंढना होगा, उस पर स्लाइड बनानी पड़ेगी. ठीक है. एंड देयरफॉर द क्वालिटी शुड बी गुड. ठीक है. द नंबर्स विल बी अवॉर्डेड on the matter, how much efforts you have put, and the way you are presenting it, of course, the answers to the questions. And third, very important is whatever references you are taking to collect your matter, they all will go in your last slide. आपके आखिरी के स्लाइड में जितने भी रेफरेंसेस आप लोगे, जिनसे आप मैटर अपना चूज करोगे, यू विल बी पेस्टिंग दैट लिंक इन योर लास्ट स्लाइड. Have I made myself clear? Any doubt, any confusion, please ask the question. हाँ मुद्दा पूछो. क्वेश्चन है कोई?
मैम आपने अभी एंड में क्या बोला, एक बार रिपीट कर दो, वॉइस का टॉगल पे.
ओके. मैंने एंड में बोला है कि ग्रुप वाइज आप अपने आप को ऐसे डिवाइड कर सकते हो. मे बी ईच कैन कवर ईच एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट टॉपिक. collecting the matter, and then preparing slides on it. Okay, but you should sit once together, all the group, to discuss what you have collected on your topic and everything. Okay, and lastly, what I mentioned was as references. जहां जहां से भी आप मैटर कलेक्ट कर रहे हो उसका लिंक आपके लास्ट स्लाइड में जाना चाहिए इन फॉर्म ऑफ योर रेफरेंसेस, सो दैट आई विल बी नोइंग, बिकॉज इट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट टू वेज. आप जो भी मैटर रिपोर्ट कर रहे हो इट इज एथिकल कि आप जिससे भी उठा रहे हो उसका नाम का मेंशनिंग होना जरूरी है. सेकंड, आई विल आल्सो कम टू नो ओके हाउ एंड व्हाट सॉर्ट ऑफ पेपर्स यू हैव tried looking at, okay, and what is the quality of the matter. I'll come to know about that by the sort of research paper that you will go. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Anam. Okay, don't worry, Anam. I'll what I'll do is, Anam, मैंने रिकॉर्ड ही कर लिया होता, नो प्रॉब्लम. मैं एक रिकॉर्डिंग क्रिएट करके आपके ग्रुप में डाल दूंगी, ठीक है? So no issues. ठीक? Okay. Anyone else has any doubt? So now I'll request CR, your class representative, to everyone to give your name group wise to your CR with topic latest by this weekend. Ma'am, can a group consist of 7 members? Ayushi, try to keep it not more than 6 because presentation is not that huge. Had that been some experimentative work, I would have allowed. But it's good if you keep some around 6 members, or the group shouldn't go beyond 6 members. Okay? 5 or 6. Try to avoid going for a 7-1. Okay? Okay, fine. So now we come to our resources and pollution. Oh, no, environment. Wait. Fine. Have I discussed about circular economy in this with this batch? Have I discussed about circular economy with this batch?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, fine. Okay. Then and about water resource?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, fine. With water resource, I think, yeah. So I'll just finish the water resource a bit, and then we will discuss a bit about your circular economy. Yeah, so I was discussing about water logging at that time, right? So we'll just mention about your salinity, and then we will discuss about the pros and cons of any dam. Okay. Okay, it's better that I share the entire screen. Okay, I hope my screen is clear. Fine. So last time in the last class we were discussing about the issue of water logging and what is the problem with the water logging, and then the next problem that is associated with the water is in terms of salinity. Now this salinity we have already discussed when we were discussing about your salinization with the soil, and there we mentioned that when water accumulates in huge amount or there is a huge shortage of water in the region, that it leaves behind salt crystal, which is known as your salinity. Okay, so that is what is happening here also. And in order to manage the salinity, the best way is to prevent water from getting locked or from getting clogged, for which the drainage system should be good. Okay, so the drainage system should be good so that excess amount of water is not waterlogging itself, which is associated with your salinity problem. Okay. Now there are some case study which I will discuss in detail about the irrigation system on the Indira Gandhi Canal projects and other. I'll be taking that together, and of course some river conflicts. Okay, because some questions have came in previous years in the question papers about the river conflicts because of this depleting amount of water. Okay. Now we come to a very important question and discussion on dams. Okay, now dams is a small name given to your hydropower projects. Okay, which are also known as your multi-purpose power projects. Okay, now when we talk about your dams, or the dams which are built to serve more than one purpose, and they are said to be as multi-purpose dams. Okay, so dams have both pros and cons. Okay, and because now the cons are coming and they are becoming more and more prominent, so the multi-purpose dams have started attracting the criticism of the people and the environmentalists, and therefore another substitute of these multi-purpose dams have been proposed. Okay, so what dams are doing, of course, they're primarily built for generating the electricity from the renewable resource of water, that is your water from, sorry, your renewable resource, that is your water here in this case. And it prevents floods and droughts. How? Because the excess amount of water that is flowing into the rivers can be held back into the reservoirs formed by dam. And in drought time, this stored water can be released slowly and slowly so that the water can reach to the field. Okay, so it also supports the agricultural land. Okay, and in terms of providing them a source for irrigation. Okay, so in this way, it's a good way. Okay, and now the reservoir that is formed is a good ground for your fisheries and for navigation. Okay, but what are the problems associated with dams? Now there are problems which are happening both at upstream and downstream. Upstream means one behind the dam, and downstream is one after the dam. When means in the front of the dam, the regions that are lying in the front of the dam. Okay, so upstream में क्या problem हो रहा है? Human, okay, or it's opposite. Okay, I think this is opposite. Okay, this is downstream. This is upstream. Sorry. Okay, so downstream में क्या हो रहा है? Human displacement. क्योंकि आपके डैम के बनने के बाद में when it releases the water, it spreads into far larger area as compared to that of the river, and that submerges the nearby areas, villages, as a result of which the humans have to be displaced before this construction program or once this construction program for any dams happen. Okay, now because of course it is going to submerge huge area, so not just the humans have to be displaced, but all the forest will also get submerged. So it's also destroying in some way the biodiversity. Now you can displace the humans, but what about wildlife? They cannot be displaced. So they either shift if they feel okay something is not, I mean something right is not happening, they will shift themselves, or they will face the consequence in form of if facing this rising water level with which they will die. Okay. Now, this also promotes sometimes landslides and sedimentation and siltation. Okay, because although that's the upstream problem. Okay, but the thing is that because these rivers are not just source of the fishes, but they also bring about good amount of sediments. Because why this alluvial plain, this North India plain of UP, Delhi, and Haryana, and this Bihar, they are so fertile because the river systems, they are bringing in huge sediments which are very fertile, which is known as your alluvial soil. Okay, now when the dams are created, they stop the sediments, as a result of which in the downstream the water doesn't contain much amount of sediments, so it affects the fertility of the entire plain. Okay, now I think this is something of the upstream weight. And okay, fine. Now, if you talk about upstream problem, the major problem is, of course, it's logging water. And because of water logging, the decomposition activities start taking place with which these reservoirs are a huge source of methane gas. Fine. Second is, of course, it's stopping the silt. Now, the silt is going to collect in these reservoirs with which it is responsible for lowering down the depth of the river system behind the dam, and it makes them prone towards flooding. Okay. Now, as a result of this, it also promotes salt intrusion from the sediments which have stagnated themselves there. Okay. And as a result of this, in the downstream, the fertility of the land will get reduced. Now, because of this stagnation, the vector-borne diseases and they start producing the vectors which are responsible for certain diseases like typhoid, etc. Because they generally don't happen in the running water, but once the water start getting clogged, then there it starts creating the problem. Okay, there is also important problem with respect to when the project is being brought, because it has a huge carbon CO2 footprint. Okay, how it has a carbon footprint? As I had already told you, once the structures have to be built, forests have to be cleared, first thing. Second, as a result of submergence, it will again destroy the forest. Now, because those forests were absorbing the CO2, so that CO2 sequester thing has gone. Okay. Second, while building that multi-purpose project, the huge amount of cement is being used, and the cement industry produces huge amount of CO2. They have a good amount of carbon footprint associated with it. So we can directly say that this dam, although is not giving CO2 in itself, but the material with which it is made, their manufacturer had released a lot amount of CO2. So indirectly, this dam or hydropower or multi-purpose project is associated with CO2 emission. Okay. So these are all the problems that are associated with them. Okay. The most challenging problem here is of about human displacement, because after all, it's coming off the human displacement. And yes, one more important thing, seismic activity is, these regions become very sensitive to seismic activities when the dams are built, because they go deep into the foundations, and most of these dams are built in hilly regions. So they make those regions quite susceptible and fragile towards the earthquake and the seismic activities. Okay. So now, what is this problem of the human displacement? Now, here I'll mention about this thing of your a good example of and a case study of Narmada Bachao Andolan. Have you heard about this Narmada Bachao Andolan? I'm sure some of you must have.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Okay. And the very first name that comes with the Narmada Bachao Andolan is Medha Patekar, right? Who is actually a socialist rather than an environmentalist.
Yes,
But there
ma'am.
is, but there is a very thin difference between being a socialist and being an environmentalist. And as I had already told you, that so environment cannot be sought out. The problems with environment cannot be sought out if we see environment as a separate or an isolated entity. Unless and until we take into account the social and the economic aspects, we cannot solve it. Okay. So here we will see how it makes the person restless. Okay. So let's discuss about I'll tell you a bit about Narmada Bachao Andolan, and then I'll discuss in details about the possible consequences of this thing. Okay, this will help you in picking the topic that I have mentioned in the assignments also. Okay. So interestingly, when we talk about Narmada Bachao Andolan, the first thing that comes is in our head is something related to environment. Actually, this movement didn't started with the concern towards an environment. It was started with the problems faced by the villagers who were displaced. So what happened when this project came into existence, and means when this project was about to launch? Now, before that, there's a process that is done, which is known as your EIA. Have you heard about it? EIA. Wait. Have you heard about this term, which is the full form of? Yeah. Has anyone heard about this term called EIA, or Environment Impact Assessment? Anyone? फाइन, ठीक है, मैं इसका फिर एक सेपरेट EIA का भी लूंगी. ठीक है, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कंसेप्ट. Although it's not there in curriculum, I don't know why, but this is important. And although it's not mentioned in curriculum, you have to mention it in your case studies, especially when it is in concern with your environmental movements. Okay. Now, what is happening? What is EIA? EIA is a formal process. Okay, mostly people in this body are in means who are there. They are from the government agencies. Okay, and they comprise of your researchers. They comprise of your bureaucrats. They comprise of your economists. They comprise of the diplomats. They comprise of some of the social people, and they also comprise of the representative from different places. Now, who are these representative? I'll tell you. Okay. So, what is the purpose of EIA? Whenever any project is going to happen, whether it's in a form of a constructive active or some construction or some developmental project or some industrial unit, and even some bringing up some apartment or maybe a residential purpose, any activity which is concerned with occupying land, clearing of a forest, or that is going to affect the tribes or the people or the villagers or anything. Before that, they first have to pass this assessment, which is known as your environment impact assessment. So, what is done in this environment impact assessment? Now, here the three representatives are there: one who are going to get affected, and one who are going to create this impact, or who are going to affect them. That is, say for example, there is a there the means for example, uh, okay, I have to come up with some project which is like creating an industry, right? Now for that, I know of course huge amount of area is required, and because empty land contains the vegetation and wildlife or wetland, something like that. So I will be sending one representative that you go and tell them that these are all my things. This is how I'm going to take care when I will build the industry, and I'll keep a check कि forest भले ही damage हो, but हम उसको repair कर सकें by doing excessive amount of um, tree plantation, by increasing water bodies. हम इसके लिए भी surety देंगे that in this process, whatever waste that is generated will be recycled by us 100%. Okay. Then, of course, because that land is going to get cleared, say, for example, if that land might have is a forested area. Now, forest area is, of course, a huge source for the local people, for the villagers. They are living in that natural system for several years, for generations. अभी वो जाने से क्या होएगा कि उनका वो जो source of livelihood है, that will go. So in that case, I'll send my representative in a way in telling कि see, I will provide the job reservation to these people first, followed by the other people. ठीक है, ये मेरा एक clarity है. Now the representative from other side will also come. Other side में कौन होंगे? वो villagers जो उससे affect होंगे. They will tell their pain in way कि उनका कितना land जा रहा है, कितना amount उसमें agricultural land involved है, how much amount of species which were living in those forests on whom they were dependent for their livelihood, that will go away, and how it is going to affect the environment, which in turn will create problem for their livings and for their future generation. Their problems will also come. Now, third will be the middlemen. Okay, the middlemen are the one. The means are the one who are going to listen to both the parties and will come to the decision. These are either the people who are hired. These are the people who are hired from the government agency. So EIA is a proper department, and one can also look for a job if somebody has gained a certificate course or maybe some course in this EIA. It's a very interesting work. Okay, it's like जैसे आपका NAC आता है ना किसी भी college के उसको check करने के लिए, similar is with the EIA. Okay, and then the people, say for example, if the villagers claim कि ये करने से उनके यहाँ भूकंप का possibility बढ़ सकता है, or this region is already earthquake prone and you cannot come up with this project. So the soil scientist will go there, will check the quality of the soil and will check whether that's true or not. Okay, whether that land is full or is okay to build that and come up with that project or not. Okay, and then there will be administrators who will find, okay, this project is bringing more profit than the negative outcomes that the villagers are introducing. They will go and try to negotiate them by telling them, see, this is the advantages that they will come with, and therefore they should help in some government in government thing. Or if they really find that that industry or that developmental project is definitely going to hamper the nature, environment, and the people at large, they will simply stop that project. This is the role of EIA report. So for any building, unless and until they have this EIA green signal, they cannot come or build that project. Okay, but there is a huge gap while this EIA is being performed, because most of the policies, industrial activity, and the developmental projects, the people who are going to get benefit is we who are living in the cities, and of course the government in terms of the economy of the economy and the GDP of the nation. And because those people who are going to get affected, they are not the part of the mainstream in terms, they are not very educated, they are not very they are not seen as the source of GDP or the economy of the nation. Their voice is not listened. They are mostly tried to understand the situation and the positive advantages of the of that project. Okay, this then creates, sometimes they agree with it, okay, and sometimes if there is a proper organization who doesn't agree with that fact, then it changes into a movement. This is the root for any environmental movement, that that restlessness. Now that restlessness is associated not just with the environment thing, but it also is because of the social aspect, because both of them are interconnected. They are dependent on those forests emotionally, ethically, they provided them with the livelihood for food, fodder, shelter, fuel wood, and their nutrition, okay, since generations to generations. That creates this conflict when something is that when something comes to them in the form of the impositions. That is the root to any environmental movement. Okay, so even in this Narmada Bachao Andolan, something of this sort had happened. The administrator then went to the villagers and they promised them that when they have to, when they will be, they will be asked to display, or they will be displaced from this region, they will be provided with the new housing, they will be provided with the new lands. Okay, they agreed to it. Okay, they agreed to it. Okay, okay, fine, it's okay, let this happen. The problem came when the time came for getting those homes and agricultural land. उसमें करप्शन आ गया, घरों को कुछ लोगों ने जैसे काला बाजारी होती है उसी तरीके से घरों के साथ में भी काला बाजारी जैसा होने लगा. I mean, somebody else had got and they started selling it for some prices, which initially were being promised to be given for free. They were being bought by someone, and then they asked people कि घर चाहिए तो फिर इतना इतना पैसा दो, then only you will get it. First thing. Second thing, as far land thing is concerned, they started asking about papers. Now those villagers जो generation से काम कर रहे थे, उनके पास में कोई papers नहीं थे. They weren't able to produce it, or they asked that the name should be in the name of the land should be in the name of a male member. कुछ ऐसे heads हैं जहाँ पर कि male members का death हो गया था, that was being transferred to women. उनका नहीं consider किया. So all these loopholes, all these things, they created huge disturbance. अभी ये हो गया कि एक जगह तो घर छोड़ दिया उन्होंने, अपना जमीन छोड़ दिया, और जहां दूसरी जगह जा रहे हैं, there also they are not getting the home or they are not getting the land. Their life is in ruin. There they became socially restless. They started going to the courts. They started forming group and they started appealing to the courts. वहां पर उनका भी उनका आवाज इतना नहीं जा रहा था, because they are not very educated and they don't have that thing. Now there the socialist plays an important role because they already are educated, they have connections, they know how to become voice of these people. So here came into the role was the role of Medha Patekar, who listened to the worries and needs and the problems of people, and then she gave the voice to their movement by, in the form of the dharnas, in the form of the movement, by going and sitting at the Jantar Mantar, which was then later joined by Sundarlal Bahuguna ji also, and other environmentalists, including this Baba Amte. Okay, he also joined and he requested government that they should keep into mind the problems of the people. So then after lots of negotiations, it was came that कि डैम का हाइट रिड्यूस किया जाए, बिकॉज डैम के हाइट रिड्यूस करने से द साइज ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट विल गेट रिड्यूस एंड द amount that is submerging will be less, the impact will be less. Okay, and this news and this movement became so violent, and not violent, it became so famous worldwide that UN and the World Fund, क्या है वो, uh, that World Fund body, I'm forgetting the name. Okay, anyone. So they, who were initially supporting this project in terms of monetary and supplies, they withdrew their hand, and they said that, and they also created the pressure. The global part also, they also created the pressure on the government that this project, they should check it, they should talk to the people, and they should try to negotiate in a proper, reasonable way so that people don't suffer. Okay, so World Wildlife, not Wildlife, sorry, World Fund, this monetary bank, Global Monetary Fund that was giving this huge amount, it withdrew from the project and it said, कि भाई देखो अपने से जो करना है, they won't be supporting in this event. This is the root cause for any movement which happens, whatever movement that we are seeing. Clear, beta? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Anyone has any question or anything that is coming to your mind you want to discuss or go about it? Okay. So I'll quickly discuss about droughts and floods, although you already know about them. Drought is something when when there is a huge shortage of rain, and flood is just the opposite of the droughts. Okay, and why, and what is the chief reason for drought? We all know it's climate change, because of which the erratic rainfall is happening, and the seasonal thing that used to earlier happen, that is not happening. So because of that, drought is happening. Okay, you all can go through all these points because they are something very general. You all have read about it. Just go through it properly. Okay, and this is drought, and what are the causes of drought that I have mentioned. Okay, now as a result of drought, of course, hunger, malnutrition, the crop failure is happening. The GDP also goes down, and it causes desertification, and the agro-based raw material are severely affected. For example, your cotton, etc., they are affected, and it causes a degradation of the natural resources. Okay. Now, what could be done to manage the drought? There are two ways. Either we find some alternative source to provide them for the water, because when rain is not happening, in any case, drought को solve करने का तरीका है कि पानी पहुंचाया जाए वहां तक. So either we develop some irrigation system by which the water can be sent to those regions, or we also develop a mechanism by which whatever water that is falling in the form of a rain, whenever it's happening, we are storing it. Now, rainwater harvesting is not a new idea. It is happening since ages, since 16th century, because in the structures like Hampi and Vijayanagar dynasty, we can see that these rain storage thing is happening. Even if you go to the forts, you will see कि हर फोर्ट में एक तालाब और पॉन्ड वो लोग क्रिएट करते थे, and the reason was simple, because they think that was the source of providing water to the system, to the people who are going to live, because rainwater was the only source for them. And because rain doesn't happen throughout the year, so best way is to store them so that you can use, or one can use it for the future purpose. Okay. Of course, creating reservoirs is also important. Intensive agricultural practices have to be reduced. Means the practices which requires less amount of water should be focused on, for example, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, etc. Now there are several other methodologies also that are coming. Like for example, they're coming with some sort of manure which maintains the moisture content of the soil for a very long period of time. Okay, mixed cropping, agroforestry are very important. What is agroforestry? In which agricultural produce and forests, they are simultaneously grown. Okay, so that means which crop should be grown and which forest timber should be grown, that is decided. Okay, so there is a proper study of these agroforestry. And what happens in agroforestry is that it is sort of a natural system, because all these trees, these crops, they support in providing them the nourishment, that natural balance, and the natural connection is there in between all these plants, that they support the growth of one another. So अगर हम कोई एक मोनोकल्चरिंग या फिर एक मोनोक्रॉप प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, उसमें ज़्यादा टाइम लगता है उसको ग्रो करने में, rather than we are trying to create some sort of natural system where both the agricultural crops and the forest are growing simultaneously. ठीक है, because they all assist each other in their each other's growth. Okay, so that is there in the drought. From forestation is the best way to manage the drought, and as well as the flood we will see. Okay, so floods is just the opposite of your droughts. Okay, and when heavy rainfall is happening, the because of the erosions, the depth of the rivers have reduced, with which they easily swell up. Okay? And your third is because of the melting of the glaciers, the water is coming more and more. Floods, this is a problem for the flood. Like for example, your Kedarnath incidents that had happened, and now that it has become quite common. Okay, if मतलब बड़े बड़े नहीं हैं, but हाँ, I think last time also and recently also it happened in Uttarakhand. और अभी monsoon आने ही वाला है, so अभी तो कतार में निकलेगा ये floods, these flash floods and the floods. Okay, and for this, of course, land cutting and the landsliding is one of the chief reasons, and why that is happening, because soil has become more prone to erosion, and why that is happening, because of the deforestation and overgrazing. So all the problems are connected. Okay, and of course, because of the climate change, excessive rainfall is happening, with which the rivers or the water system, they swells up soon. Okay, now, as a result of floods, what is happening? Civilizations have gone extinct, people get submerged, they have to leave their places, the villages get destroyed, and so and so. And they, of course, bring about huge amount of mud and sand along with them. Okay, so how the floods can be managed? Best way is either to divert the water, or we have that good amount of drainage system so that water can be immediately diverted before it reaches to the danger mark, danger signal. Okay, so इसके कुछ structures हैं which I'll discuss about in levees, check dams, dams. Now when I'm saying dams, not the multi-purpose dams. Now multi-purpose dams का best solution है dams की size को reduce करना, छोटे छोटे dams बनाओ. छोटे छोटे डैम्स से क्या होगा, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी भी प्रोड्यूस होगा, और ये जो सबमर्ज है, सिल्टेशन, इनका प्रॉब्लम है, दैट विल आल्सो गेट रिजॉल्व. दैट इज द सॉल्यूशन बिटवीन द डेवलपमेंट एंड बिटवीन द एनवायरनमेंट. Come up with small scale or small projects for the dams. Okay, now check dams is different. Check dams is not the dam like that of producing electricity. I'll show you the diagram. Then there are levees, dikes, diversion spillways, afforestation we have already discussed, flood zoning I'll discuss with you, and of course river restoration and wetland. So these are the structures. Okay, so levees में क्या करते हैं, we create these slopes and we raise the level so that पानी अगर इन पे चढ़ेगा भी तो it will fall down. ठीक है, so artificially यहाँ पर this is an example where they are doing it artificially, where they have raised this rand and they have created the slope so the water do not go up. ठीक है, वो slope से चढ़ के तुरंत नीचे ढाल से आके it will fall down. Okay, now this diagram is actually of the check dams. So check dams are a very small check dams or dikes that we are seeing. That is one of the good way of the rainwater harvesting also, and for the groundwater recharge also, and for conserving the water in small areas also. Okay, so there is one very good case study, that is of the Parwari river, that is in Alwar region. Okay, so this waterman of India, Rajendra Prasad, he and his team workers, this Parwari river, which had actually was almost on the verge of death, it was completely dried out. So there, by creating these check dams, they were able to revive this river, and the entire chemistry of that river or that region has changed. That region, which was very dry, people were not able to do the agriculture. They then started. Of course, the water table जब बढ़ गया तो क्या हुआ? Soil को moisture मिल गया. Soil started becoming fertile, and of course, it started producing and it started supporting the agricultural activities. So वहाँ पर villages को किसी भी तरीके से government policies के ऊपर में dependent नहीं होना पड़ा, and they were able to sustain the agriculture independently by creating these check dams. Okay. Now third is these dikes. Now dikes में क्या होता है? There's some big stone boulders are placed on the side. So they reduce the speed, velocity, and the force of the wave with which, and they also offer the friction so that water doesn't comes out or that doesn't floods or spills away. Okay. Now this is the spillway. Spillway में क्या हो रहा है? Now this is also good way which can be done for the especially when we come with the projects on like on dams. अभी इसमें क्या हुई, डैम्स में होता तो अभी ह्यूज वाटर होता तो ये इधर उधर एग्रीकल्चरल एरिया को कवर करके इट वुड हैव सबमर्ज्ड इट, ठीक, बट एक डाइवर्ज स्पिलवे बना के, दिस द वन वेयर आई एम पुटिंग द एरो, दिस वन, ये डाइवर्जन क्रिएट करके क्या होएगा, दिस एक्सेस अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर इज बीइंग डाइवर्टेड टू अदर प्लेसेस, तो इट कैन कवर ऑल दीज रीजन्स आल्सो. These are known as your diversions or spillways. Okay, is it clear, beta? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So now in this, we have to discuss about some river conflicts. Okay, we will discuss it in the class, river conflicts, and then we will talk about your water pollution. Okay, anyone has any question, any doubt? Fine, so I'll take your attendance and then you are free to go.